Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, well, oh. Hello everyone, this is Sorry and Target, welcoming you back to another entry in our Carnivores review series, where today we're taking a look back at arguably the most well-known entries in the Carnivores series. The mobile ports, Carnivores Dinosaur Hunter and Carnivores Ice Age. Now, before we start, I'm going to put up this disclaimer. If you think you're going to be offended at me voicing my opinion on why I don't like the mobile Carnivores ports, you should probably stop watching this video. I noticed that in my canon versus canon style video, a lot of people did not like my explanation of what I see as canon and why I see it that way. It seems that they just heard and latched onto specific statements in the video, and did not take everything I said as a whole, and forgot about my disclaimer that I used to put in all of my videos when the channel was first starting out.
I am not the final authority on Carnivores lore. I am not the definitive final authority on all things Carnivores. I am not the final authority on all things Carnivores. I am not the final authority on all things Carnivores.
I am not the final authority on all things Carnivores. I had hoped that after a year and a half of saying that, we had finally reached an understanding point that I am indeed not the final authority on all things Carnivores, that this is all just my opinion, and that I would not have to keep saying that in every video I ever made. But apparently, and unfortunately, that does not seem to be the case. So, again, just a heads up. If you don't want to hear my critical opinions on the mobile Carnivores ports, you should probably go find another video to watch. Variety is healthy. But if you have an open mind and want to hear what I have to say, feel free to stick around. It's gonna be a lot of fun. And be sure to let me know what you guys think of the Carnivores mobile ports in the comment section below, whether you like them or dislike them. Discussion is always welcome here. So without further ado, let's begin our review of the Carnivores mobile ports. After Carnivores Cityscape debuted in 2002, official Carnivores content became extinct. At a young age, and in my case without internet to cover everything going on in the world, for all I knew, Cityscape was the last Carnivores game that was ever going to come out. I mean, what a note to go out on, right? Basically the Carnivores equivalent of if that really bad Clone Wars movie was the last Star Wars film to ever be made. And with the abandonment of the Carnivores franchise, the series was left to the fans, who began modding the game and became content creators themselves. Thanks to mods like Carnivores Triassic, Desperation, Abandoned Islands, and others like them, the Carnivores series was kept alive and held interest. Then, after 7 years of silence, official Carnivores content was suddenly and unexpectedly reborn. On December 4th, 2009, an app game developer called Tatum Games released a teaser trailer for Carnivores Dinosaur Hunter, which aimed to port Carnivores 2 over to mobile platforms. It is unknown how Tatum came to acquire the Carnivores IP, but on June 12th, 2010, Carnivores Dinosaur Hunter was released on the App Store. Carnivores Dinosaur Hunter received very favorable reviews and surged in popularity, and on February 8th, 2011, less than 1 year later, a sequel was released, Carnivores Ice Age Mobile, that did the same thing to Carnivores Ice Age. The mobile Carnivores ports were extremely popular and successful, earning positive reviews, breaking top 10 paid app lists, starting an official Carnivores Facebook page, and relaunching the Carnivores franchise into the mainstream eye. The app was even ported over to PSP and PS3 consoles by a third-party developer, Beat Shapers. And I used to love these ports. I used to be pretty heavily involved with editing and polishing the Carnivores wiki, and every new addition to the mobile ports gave me a new opportunity to add some fresh content. However, as time passed, I found myself liking the ports and the way they were handled less and less, and now consider them my least favorite entries in the Carnivores franchise. I've talked before about some of the reasons why I don't like the mobile ports, and I won't dwell too long on those in this video. But one of the biggest reasons why I don't like them is because of how poorly and disrespectfully Tatum has handled the Carnivores franchise. The first additions to Dinosaur Hunter were simple and, for the most part, non-intrusive. Adding Riveran's Bridge and the Pachycephalosaurus were fun and somewhat cohesive ways to add more content. Then came the brand new content. As most of us are probably aware at this point, the Carnivore series was established on dinosaur designs inspired by paleoart by Zdeněk Burian, a renowned 20th century paleoartist who helped redefine the way people viewed dinosaurs back then. And there's a fine line between inspiration and blatant plagiarism, and with the new mobile animals, Tatum has clearly crossed that line. The new animals are obvious rip-offs of various popular sources, from digital artist Vlad Konstantinov to BBC's well-known Walking With series. And when I say rip-off, I mean in every sense of the word. Like, the Carnivore's Velociraptor looks like the male Velociraptor from The Lost World, obviously, that's no secret. But it's still an inspired design. The coloration and patterns are very similar, but the texture, patterns, and shape are still different enough that it's not an exact copy. And I understand this is only my personal justification for the issue. I know not everyone will agree with this. Some people will see this example and immediately think, "Oh, Carnivores ripped off Jurassic Park! Hypocrite! Unsubscribe!" And I get it, fair enough. But I just think that if you're going to rip off other well-known and established dinosaur media that already take place in their own worlds and universes and are not in the public domain, at least edit it enough that the design isn't a one-to-one imitation. These new animals, right down to the textures and specific color patterns, are literally copy and paste. But honestly, it's not so much the rip-off designs that really grinds my gears. I mean, that's just lazy. What really frustrates me is how these new animals clash horrifically with the established carnivore style. These animals don't even look like they belong in the same universe as the originals, and stick out like a sore thumb. It's like Tatum didn't even bother to explain what the game was when they commissioned the modelers to make the new animals. They probably just told them, "Hey, we need some dinosaur models for a dinosaur app," and then the modelers were just like, "Okay," and just Googled the dinosaurs for an already made design, because when you Google these new mobile animals, the designs the artists copied are usually the first ones to pop up. The one new map added to Dinosaur Hunter, Nibelungen Paradise, is probably the most boring Carnivores map ever. There is nothing to it in terms of story expansion or world building, no Easter eggs, no unique landmarks, it's just some trees, rocks, and sand. What's worse is that it's not even custom made for the series. The design, height map, terrain, and foliage are all recycled from a map in an early build of Vivisector, a game made by Action Forms, who made the original Carnivores games. And that actual Vivisector map looks really interesting, but Tatum took out all the interesting stuff when they put it in Carnivores. In my opinion, this map adds nothing to the Carnivore series. It's even worse than the reboot maps. And finally, after 7 years of waiting, a new official weapon was finally added to the mobile ports. And that weapon is the revolver, a weapon that's been in the games for years already, thanks to mods. And let's not forget that dinosaur drawing contest held a few years ago that was supposedly going to allow fans to add their own dinosaurs to the game, even though Tatum seemingly had the final dinosaur and its design pre-made and already picked out. Sorry, Brian, your Dilophosaurus was awesome. Honestly, guys, to me personally, the way the Carnivores mobile ports have handled the franchise's legacy would be laughably bad if it weren't so sad. They've had the franchise for 7 years, and I don't feel like they've added anything significant to it in that time. I mean, over on the Carnivore Saga Discord, I've watched excellent canon-style dinosaurs, maps, and weapons evolve from concept to final creation over the course of just a couple days, sometimes even over just an afternoon, by people who aren't even paid to make them. But we have to wait 2 years for 2 dinosaurs that don't even look like they belong in the same game? This is another one of my big gripes with the mobile ports. Tatum's clear indifference about the franchise, because it's pretty obvious at this point that Tatum simply doesn't care about carnivores. Outsourcing the occasional dinosaur model from random app modelers, not even bothering to update the fans on what's going on behind the scenes, like why there's no activity or why we have to wait so long between updates, starting phony contests and making promises then never delivering on them, cashing out shallow and soulless reboots to make a quick buck, and that Steam port. Holy crap! Look, I'm no programmer, so I don't know how long a conversion process takes, but I do know that they at least thought they would be done with the Steam port in spring of 2017. And guys, it's been almost a year since that announcement. And I know that there's supposedly only one person working on the thing right now, but Tatum didn't even bother to tell us that. They just left us in the dark, while a fan who is determined and passionate about the series had to do some digging and found out that information himself. And it's this indifference towards us and the franchise that's just so frustrating. It'd be one thing if Tatum were actively making content on a regular basis and keeping us and the game updated, even if that content wasn't great or even bad. Or even if they actively and purposefully withheld new content from the franchise because they hated us or something. But they just don't care. It's like the school bully who stole your kickball and is holding it over your head just out of your reach. Like, he's not gonna do anything with that kickball. He doesn't care. He's just doing it to annoy you. That's what this feels like. Imagine if Tatum actually cared about carnivores, put some effort, research, and care into the dinosaur designs, maybe even held seasonal events, like migration or exotic dinosaur hunts, released maps that progressively built up with this awesome story, subtly told through intricate and detailed map design, included new mechanics like multiplayer, or actually finished the Steam port, and just made the games fun and kept fans engaged by putting some passion into their work. Unfortunately, that's not even remotely close to what we got. If Tatum cared an ounce about carnivores, that Steam port would have been out by now. But they don't. Tatum's sheer lack of care about carnivores is sad, especially so that they'd rather put their focus in some garbage like this. Lots of people defend the mobile ports by saying that Tatum's content is the only legitimate Carnivores content right now, because content creators have the final say in what's canon. And I fully agree. Content creators should have the final say in what counts as canon. But guys, Tatum didn't create Carnivores. When Dinosaur Hunter first came out, everything in it was made by Action Forms. Tatum just re-released their work. Dinosaur Hunter got great reviews when it first came out because it was literally Carnivores 2. Tatum had made nothing at that point. Tatum is just occasionally making assets for the Carnivore sequels, same as the modders. So by that logic, I think content creators like Poharex, who are infinitely more passionate about and involved with Carnivores as a whole, should have a say in the lore. So, let's put that claim to the test. If content creation determines your say in the matter, how much content has been created by each party? I hope Poharex doesn't mind that I keep using him as an example in these videos, but his credible work deserves recognition. So let's take a look back over the past 7 years at how much Carnivores content has been created. What has Tatum contributed to the Carnivores legacy? 24 uninspired animals, 1 map stolen from another game, and 1 weapon we've had in the community for years. Basically, the equivalent of a small DLC pack. So what's Poharex contributed over the past 7 years to Carnivores? Oh, you know, just the equivalent of 3 full-fledged Carnivores games, including DLC. That's over 50 brand new animals, 30 custom-made maps, and 24 unique weapons. Like, to me, there is no comparison here, at all. This isn't some huge, world-renowned brand like Star Wars, where a particular lightsaber's ignition sound effect can be called into question as a continuity error. Guys, this is Carnivores, a niche franchise that, if we're being honest, has been all but abandoned by the official developers, and been left to the fans. I know not everyone agrees with this, but in my eyes, Tatum's ability to slap these 10 letters on a product and make $3 off of it does not dictate legitimacy. In this franchise, passion, enthusiasm, talent, and skill speak louder than words, and in my opinion, those traits exuded by the amazing community far outweigh anything these mobile ports have to offer. However, I believe there is a catch to this rule. While I do believe that content creators should have the final say in what's canon, or at least a voice in the matter, I also believe that it is their duty as leaders and prominent voices in the community to work with the community in finding appropriate and sensible solutions when issues like this arise. Now, I know you can't please everyone, and you want to stand your ground and not pander to every complaint audiences have, but continuing to establish content that people do not like simply because you're the creator is rude, arrogant, immature, and honestly, pretty darn disrespectful. It doesn't grow or nurture a community, it divides and corrupts it. And that seems to be all Tatum has in mind with this slew of new Carnivores creatures. And now, let's go ahead and talk about the bigger Spinosaurus. I've had a lot of people ask me what I think about the resized Spino, and so I figured this would be as good a time as any to officially give my thoughts on it. Long story short, I think it's a freaking travesty. If the indifferent disrespect over the past several years has been Tatum digging their own grave, then this was the final nail in the coffin. Not only is it clear and blatant pandering to people who don't understand what Carnivores is, which, yes, I do think is a bad thing, it's done so lazily that it's almost laughable. There is no actual legitimate effort made to realistically adjust the Spinosaurus to its new size. No new animations, no new sounds, no new speed adjustments, no adjusted stats, nothing. It's literally the same small animal just blown way out of proportion, which doesn't make any sense at all. This now 70-foot long, 40-ton animal can run at speeds far too fast for anything its size, actually leap in the air like it's still a small, agile predator, and despite its enormous size, goes down in about 2 to 3 shots from most weapons. It's like gravity has no effect on this thing at all. It's literally the same small Spinosaurus, just upscaled. That's it. Like when I was young, naive, and experienced, I used to mess around with the dinosaur sizes in the RES file of Carnivores 2 to make the Ceratosaurus smaller and the Spinosaurus bigger. And even then, I knew it was stupid. And that's all this is. Tatum just made a lazy, ignorant RES edit and then made it official. A lot of people defend this choice by saying that Tatum has to pander to fans in order to stay relevant and profitable, and to me, that's complete nonsense. If video game developers pandered to the whim, complaint, and demand of every fan, nothing would ever get accomplished. And what does this gain them? An obscure app developing company in charge of a niche property. It'd be one thing if this were, again, like Star Wars, but it's not! It's Carnivores! What has this shameless pandering gained Tatum? Popularity? Riches? Absolutely not. This change alienates the fans that kept the franchise alive for over a decade through creating new content, only to appease fair-weather fans who don't understand what makes the franchise special, and who probably won't even care about it in a few years. So, the bigger Spinosaurus. In my opinion, it's a lose-lose situation. It's an idiotic move, and I personally think it's one of the worst choices ever made for this franchise. In fact, because so many people have, demanded that only the official Carnivores content be considered canon by everyone, I thought about including something here that I've been saving for a long time. The single most requested video I've ever been asked to make. More than the Mandible Showcase, more than a full FMMV32 Dinopedia video, has been the Carnivores lore video. Discussing the Carnivores story in detail, diving into the lore and showing off everything we have documented that takes place in the universe. Now, I had been holding off on this video because so many new canon mods have been coming out and getting announced, and I wanted to wait until their stories were complete so I could deliver a great and fulfilling lore video for you guys. But if the Carnivores canon mods can't be considered canon, then there's no reason to wait for that video anymore. In fact, we can do it right now. So without further ado, let's begin the story of Carnivores. In the year 2190 AD, an alien planet is discovered and declared inhospitable because of its native dinosaur population. Soon, an Earth corporation buys the planet and forms Dino Hunt Corp, an intergalactic hunting safari where clients can, hunt dinosaurs. Dino Hunt Corp discovered a few alien structures and tried to form a few settlements on the planet, but never did anything with either. Soon they discovered some new dinosaurs, and then some new mammals up north, and then they discovered some more new dinosaurs, and some more new animals. And there you go, guys! I hope you enjoyed the official story of Carnivores. Wait, am I forgetting something? I feel like something else happened in there. What could it be? Oh yeah, Cityscape! Wait, what's this? Tatum retconned Cityscape? They called it a failure, specifically remade the dinosaurs from Cityscape to erase it from the timeline, and even went so far as to redesign the freaking Dino Hunt Corp logo? Oh well, too bad for the people who liked Cityscape. I guess that's it, guys. Whew, now I don't have to worry about making that lore video anymore. Nah, I'm just kidding. I'm still working on the lore video. Gotta make sure all the mods are ready to tell their stories first. But this does further escalate the dilemma of what people view as canon and why. Is there a better way to remedy this, to be honest, pretty toxic issue? Well, because there are a lot of heated debates on who counts what as canon and why that matters, I'm going to offer what I personally see as the 3 most logical and prominent options for what's canon regarding these mobile ports, which bleeds a little into the multiverse theory. The way I see it, there are 3 Carnivores timelines depending on what you view as canon. There is the original timeline, which is what I personally view as canon, which includes the original trilogy, Cityscape, and the extended canon mods. Then there is the mobile timeline, which is basically just the mobile ports themselves, since Dinosaur Hunter and Ice Age Mobile are pretty much Carnivores 2 and Ice Age already. And since the Carnivores 1 assets have kind of been absorbed by the mobile ports, and since Tatum retconned Cityscape. And then there's the reboot timeline, which includes Carnivores HD and Reborn, however you want to make heads or tails of that mess. And if all you want to do is view Tatum's timeline as canon, then that is totally fine. There's no Velociraptor hit squad that's going to show up at your door for not considering Carnivores Triassic canon. But if all you want to do is see the mobile ports as canon, then as an inquisitive and curious person, I have to ask, why? Why pick the most shallow, boring, and, again, all in my opinion, worst timeline as the one you see as legit? The Carnivores extended canon has so many more unique, stylized, and character-infused dinosaurs. So many more story-driven, exquisitely built, and tantalizingly fun maps. So many more powerful and impressive weapons, and so much more content. And it's all for free! You don't have to pay $3 or own the original games to play Carnivores Triassic. Just go download it and have fun. The Tatum timeline is nothing, and it goes nowhere. It's like a stagnant pool full of dead fish and algae, but the extended canon is full of life, innovation, and passion. Again, in the Carnivore series, you can see whatever canon you want to. No one is going to stop you. If all you want to see as canon is Cityscape, Abandoned Islands, Ice Age Mobile, and The New Age, that's fine. You go for it, you little weirdo. I'm just explaining, within the context of this channel and the stories I tell in these videos, what I see as canon and why I see it that way. And why, to me, there is no comparison between the official content and the content created by people who actually care. Some people have suggested that they wish Tatum would redesign the old dinosaurs to match the style of the new dinosaurs, and initially, that honestly made me throw up in my mouth a little bit. But now, after some thought, I fully agree. I wish Tatum would redesign the old animals to match the new ones. That way, Tatum can further distance their crappy timeline and Carnivores content from the originals. I've speculated that this might be the case before. In my coverage of the big update for Dinosaur Hunter, I stated that the older animals don't really blend in well with the new animals and new graphics combination, and that Tatum might be attempting to turn the mobile ports into a Dinosaur Hunter HD 2.0 or something. And honestly, at this point, I kind of want to see that happen. If you're gonna disregard the legacy of the franchise like this, go ahead and own it and go all out. At least it'll give us something different. However biased and honestly pretty frustrated I might be regarding this situation, I'm not completely heartless. There are some things that I legitimately think are good about the mobile ports, and I do want to include them here. In my opinion, the greatest thing about the mobile ports is that they allow people to play Carnivores who otherwise couldn't. Not everyone has a computer, and even if they do, they might not have one that can run old games like the originals. But almost everyone has a phone or a tablet or some sort of mobile device, and I've seen so many comments and had so many conversations with different people telling me that they got into Carnivores because of the mobile ports. Dinosaur Hunter and Ice Age Mobile are Carnivores games for a new generation. A generation who doesn't care about canon, who just says, "Ooh, dinosaurs," and spends a lot of time on their phones. And that's how many people found out about Carnivores and were able to play it. Carnivores is a very niche property, but the mobile ports helped bring it into the mainstream for many people to enjoy. And that is something I do think is worthy of recognition. For an app game, I do think the new dinosaur models are very well made. Now, within the context of the Carnivores universe, I do not like them at all. But take away that context and just observing them on their own merit, I do think they are well crafted, and are honestly some of the best and most professional dinosaur models I've ever seen in a mobile app game. There are also a few little details in the ports that I'm pretty fond of. The Dinopedia is a great addition, the new menu layouts look slick with great design choices, the trophy rooms are all gorgeous. All of the original skins have been touched up to avoid transparency issues, and the Ice Age ports give some much needed ferocity and aggression to the bear and the yeti, two of the most underwhelming animals from the original trilogy in my opinion. Also, I love how in the mobile ports, the yeti is literally known as the Yeti. Like Dino Hunt Corp markets it as the Yeti, similar to how the Tyrannosaur is marketed as T-Rex. You're not going out to hunt a Yeti, you're going out to hunt the Yeti. That's just a really cool and imposing naming element that I really like. Also, the post-update graphics are undoubtedly phenomenal, which is really the biggest reason why I wanted the Steam port to come out in the first place, so we could port over our mods and play them in those gorgeous graphics. But graphics don't make a game, it's just a really nice touch. Well guys, if you haven't figured it out at this point, I think the Carnivores mobile ports suck. They're not even games, they're bad DLC packs for Carnivores 2 and Ice Age. They've been a long, agonizing mess since they began, and honestly, at this point, I'm not even sure if they're being worked on anymore. I'm sorry if this video completely derailed at times into rants about the mobile ports, but I'm very passionate about that and feel the need to explain why I believe what I believe. And please remember, these are just my thoughts on the Carnivores mobile ports. If you agree, that's awesome. If you disagree, that's awesome. And if you like the mobile ports, please know that I do not think you are a bad person. We are all different, and we all have different likes. That's what makes us all unique. And be sure to let me know what you guys think of the Carnivores mobile ports in the comment section below. I know they were a lot of people's first time ever playing Carnivores, so I'm curious as to how you guys feel about them. Also, a huge thanks to Dino Destroyer for providing the footage for today's video. If you're a fan of the Carnivores games, then you've probably heard of his channel, and he plays the mobile ports extensively, doing commissioned hunts and challenges and showing off all that the apps have to offer. And if you want to check out his channel, there's a link in the description for you to do so. And guys, thanks as always for watching. Even when videos are slow or we don't all agree, we're still an awesome community, brought together by the animals we love. Dinosaurs, and I'm so grateful for everyone who is still sticking around. We're getting really close to 3,000 subscribers, and guys, that's awesome! You guys are all the best for always watching and liking and commenting on these videos, and just for making this fun. I am forever appreciative of all your support, and as long as you guys keep watching this content, I will for sure keep making it. Thanks again for watching, guys. You are all truly the best, and I will see you guys next time when we wrap up our Retro Carnivores review series and tackle the reboots. So way back when, I used to spend quite a bit of time editing and polishing the Carnivores wiki, mostly the Ice Age, Cityscape, Primal Prey, and new mobile edition pages, and I just so happened to notice that several of the Dinopedia entries sounded very familiar when I read them, and upon further inspection, bear a striking similarity to my articles in terms of word usage and sentence structure.